Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today. Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
In 2010, a video appeared online showing a man suffocating two kittens with a vacuum-sealed bag. Thousands of people across the internet band together to track down the killer, convinced he would escalate to human victims. They were absolutely right. What happened next became one of the most infamous cases of internet vigilantism meeting real-world horror. And today we're diving deep into the twisted mind of Luka Magnotta. When the video One Boy, Two Kittens hit YouTube and Facebook in 2010, it wasn't your typical viral cat video. This clip showed something that made viewers physically sick. A young man playing with two adorable kittens before sealing them in a vacuum bag and slowly suffocating them to death. The video was deliberate, it was calculated, and absolutely designed to provoke the strongest possible reaction. And provoke it did. Within days, nearly 4,000 people had joined a Facebook group called Find the Vacuum Kitten Killer for Great Justice. They were more than casual observers hitting like and moving on. They were determined individuals who felt compelled to act, analyzing every frame of the footage like digital forensic experts. They examined metadata, studied background details, and cross-referenced information with the dedication of professional investigators. Their amateur detective work paid off when the name Luka Magnotta began surfacing in their discussions. Here was their prime suspect, and they were convinced that they had found their man. When they brought their findings to police, however, the response was underwhelming. After all, we're talking about cats here, not humans. How serious could it really be? The internet sleuths knew better. They understood something law enforcement seemed to miss. Escalation is real, and someone capable of torturing animals for entertainment and online infamy wouldn't stop there. Born Eric Clinton Kirk Newman on July 24, 1982 in Scarborough, Ontario, the man who would become Luka Magnotta entered the world under less than ideal circumstances. His parents, Anna Yorkin and Donald Newman, were teenagers themselves. She was 16, he was 17, when they welcomed their first child into what would become a deeply dysfunctional family dynamic. Anna who would later claim the homeschooling decision was entirely her husband's idea, kept Luka and his siblings Conrad and Melissa isolated from traditional education until 6th grade. When they finally entered regular school, the transition proved brutal for Luka. Years of social isolation hadn't prepared him for peer interaction, and he became a target for severe bullying that ultimately led to him dropping out before graduation. The home environment offered little refuge from this outside torment. Anna described her son as obsessively concerned with cleanliness, but would wear surgical masks herself and rubber gloves around the house, compulsively washing her children's hands. Even more disturbing were her reported tendencies to lock the children out of the house or car as punishment, and her practice of putting their pet rabbits outside during harsh Canadian winters, leaving them to freeze to death. Donald Newman presented his own set of problems. Anna characterized him as a proud Nazi and described experiencing both emotional and physical abuse at his hands. The situation deteriorated further when Donald received a schizophrenia diagnosis in 1994, contributing to the couple's eventual separation. After the divorce, Anna eventually entered a new relationship with a man named Leo, and the family relocated to a Toronto apartment to a fresh start. Unfortunately for 16-year-old Luka, this change brought a new trauma rather than relief. Leo proved to be extremely abusive toward the teenager, both emotionally and physically, creating an environment so toxic that Luka was eventually sent to live with his maternal grandmother, Phyllis. Luka's later assessment of his stepfather was characteristically blunt. Quote, "He was, is, and always a complete waste of oxygen, and by far the most useless idiot I have ever encountered." With his grandmother, Luka finally found some stability and genuine affection. Phyllis treated him with kindness and made him feel valued in ways that his parents never had. However, this period of relative peace couldn't undo the damage that had already been done to his developing psyche. Despite Luka's claims later on that his childhood was perfectly normal and that the media reports exaggerated his trauma, the evidence suggests otherwise. It was Phyllis, concerned about her grandson's increasingly erratic behavior, who first sought professional help for him around 1999. Luka was hearing voices, speaking loudly to invisible presences, and expressing genuine fear about threats that others couldn't perceive. The psychiatric evaluation resulted in a schizophrenia diagnosis, the same mental illness that had claimed his father's stability years earlier. By this point, Luka had already dropped out of high school and was receiving disability benefits. The severity of his condition led to placement in a psychiatric group home, where his paranoid thoughts about government surveillance and phone tapping became regular topics of discussion with staff. Around 2002 or 2003, Luka began working as a stripper at Remington's, a Toronto nightclub, while also appearing in low-budget adult films to supplement his income. The work provided money, but not nearly enough to satisfy his growing sense of entitlement and his belief that he deserved more than life was offering him. A fellow dancer's suggestion to try escort work proved to be a turning point. This career change coincided with Luka's legal name change from Eric Clinton Kirk Newman to Luka Rocco Magnotta, a deliberate reinvention that marked his transformation from troubled young man to calculated performer. The escort business proved lucrative beyond his expectations. Luka later boasted about serving 5 to 6 clients daily and earning 6 figures annually. Quote, "Extremely generous clients allowed me to make 6 figures easily. One even bought me a condo. It was a great life." However, this success came at a significant psychological cost. The sex trade exposed Luka to clients with dark fantasies and twisted desires, many of whom recorded their encounters and distributed the footage online. These experiences, being exploited, recorded, and distributed without consent, would later manifest in his own crimes, a disturbing cycle of victimization and perpetration. As 2010 turned to 2011, the Facebook group dedicated to identifying the kitten killer evolved into something more organized and determined. An 11-member collective calling itself the Animal Beta Project, or AB Project, emerged with a singular focus: stop Luka Magnotta before he killed again. Member John Green articulated their collective fear. Quote, "We felt he would continue, that he would harm other animals, and eventually move on to something even more violent, like hurting a person. Their persistence finally prompted police to open a file on Luka in February 2011. However, law enforcement's response remained limited. Despite the mounting evidence and the internet investigators' warnings about escalation, authorities couldn't locate Magnotta, and technically, he hadn't threatened or harmed any human beings. The amateur investigators' frustrations grew as months passed without any meaningful police action. They had correctly identified their suspect and predicted his trajectory, but the system seemed unable or unwilling to intervene before the next inevitable escalation. The internet sleuth's worst fears materialized over 2 days, May 2012. From May 15th to May 16th, mysterious references began appearing online to a new video titled "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick" that hadn't been released yet. Someone was building anticipation, creating buzz for what would become one of the most disturbing pieces of footage ever posted to the internet. When the video finally appeared on May 25th, 2012, it confirmed every horrific prediction the online investigators had made. The 10-minute clip showed a naked young man bound to a bed, initially alive, but clearly in distress. What followed was a methodical, filmed murder that included stabbing with an ice pick, dismemberment with a knife, acts of necrophilia, and cannibalism. 3 days after the video's release, the real-world consequences became devastatingly clear. Body parts belonging to 33-year-old June Lin were discovered in trash bags scattered across Montreal. Some had been mailed to government offices, while others were left near the apartment building where Luka Magnotta had been renting a unit. CCTV footage showing June Lin entering Magnotta's building on the night of his murder provided the definitive evidence police needed. Finally, they issued a manhunt for the man internet investigators had been tracking for nearly 2 years. By then, however, Luka had fled to Paris. Remarkably, he traveled under his own name, making his movements relatively easy to track. As French authorities closed in, he took a bus to Berlin, turning the pursuit into an international cat and mouse game. The chase ended on June 4th, 2012, in a way that perfectly encapsulated Luka's narcissistic personality. Police found him in a Berlin internet cafe, not planning his next move or researching escape routes, but Googling his own name to read about the international manhunt he had sparked. Luka was extradited to Canada, and in December 2014, after a 12-week trial, was found guilty of first-degree murder. His defense centered on mental illness and lack of criminal responsibility, with Luka claiming that voices in his head had commanded him to kill June Lin. According to his testimony, when he met Lin through Craigslist for what was supposed to be a sexual encounter, the voices became overwhelming. Tie him up. Cut it. Do it. He's from the government. However, several mental health professionals who examined Luka found his claims questionable. His behavior around the time of the murder was too organized, too deliberate for someone who was experiencing a complete psychotic break. Moreover, his immediate pivot to an insanity defense upon arrest, complete with a detailed recitation of symptoms and family history, seemed rehearsed rather than genuine. The jury ultimately rejected his mental health defense and found him guilty on all charges, including first-degree murder, committing an indignity to a body, publishing obscene material, and criminally harassing government officials. He received a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. In 2017, Luka married fellow inmate Anthony Jolin in a ceremony at Port Cartier Prison, with his mother, Anna Yorkin, serving as witness. Jolin, who is serving his own life sentence for murder, met Magnotta after being transferred to the same facility. More than a decade after his conviction, Magnotta remains incarcerated, though his life behind bars has become somewhat controversial. In 2022, he was transferred from maximum security to medium security, a move that sparked parliamentary investigation and public outrage. Thanks for listening to 10-Minute Murder, bingeable true crime stories. I'm Joe, I'm the host, and thank you for joining today. If you're a new listener, make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening. Go to the website, 10minutemurder.com. You'll learn all about the podcast there, and even send me an email if you want to do that. And speaking of, here is an email from one of you that listens. Hey, Joe, I hope you're feeling better from your recent case of the flu. You mentioned that you were in Portland. Can you talk about your vacation? Was it something podcast related or just for fun? And that's from Amy in Sacramento. Amy, thanks for the email. Thank you for the well wishes. You can hear I don't sound fantastic. I'm still dealing with some symptoms. I don't get the flu very often, but when I do get it, it sticks with me for a while. Like it doesn't seem to let go right toward the end, and I am stuffy for a week or two afterward. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. I feel a lot better than I did. And the trip was completely for fun, not podcast related at all. As a matter of fact, I tried to avoid murder topics while I was away. You can't completely because of what I do here on this podcast. I have to stay up on researching and things like that, or I'll fall behind. So I did a little bit of that, but mostly it was just for fun. And I'll tell you where I went, what I did. My partner, she is a travel writer, and she travels all over the world. Every now and then, I get to go with her. So this trip, it was a place that I'd never been before. She'd been a little bit, but wanted to go explore a little bit more. So we flew into Seattle, spent a couple of days there, loved Seattle, went over the ferry to Bainbridge Island. That's a gorgeous place itself. Traveled north and then west through Port Angeles, Cape Flattery, went there, and then came down south. And this is, by the way, over the span of like a week to 10 days. Came south, stayed in Forks, Washington for a couple of days. Found out that they didn't really film Twilight in Forks. That was a shocker to me. I was excited about seeing the different places they filmed the movies, but they didn't do that there. So it was still gorgeous. By the way, this is the most beautiful part of the country I've ever been to in my entire life. And I've been a lot of places. Gorgeous area. So out of Forks, went south, and then we went into Cannon Beach, Oregon, and then headed inland, and we stayed in Portland for a couple of days. And that's where I got sick, was in Portland. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time exploring there. It seems like a cool city, but I don't really know that much about it because I was in the bed. But yeah, it was 100% for fun. And I mean, for me, it was. For my partner, she was, working kind of, creating content as she does. But yeah, had a really good time. Thank you for asking. And that's going to do it. That is your episode for today. Thank you so much for listening to 10-Minute Murder.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.